region. This is our last but not least session. Second last, I should say, because we're going to do a close-up, but our last speaker, we're having a lightning session with Iman Jabil. So thank you very much for being part of the session. It's my pleasure to introduce you to her, and she'll be doing a breakdown on reporting to senior stakeholders. Iman is a transformational management leader with 15 years plus experience, a doctorate student researching PMO roles in ESG adoption. So that's our first PhD doctorate student, I think, for the session today. Chartered management, multiple award winner, Powerlist ME, Women Changing the World, speaker, published author, and founder of Green PMO Initiative. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm handing over to you right now.
Thank you so much, Julie. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Good day to you too. So we will start our presentation today with a brief introduction, and I will start from the study that I have conducted for my DBA, for my doctorate study. Basically, it's about the impact of ESG adoption on the financial performance of the organization, taking into account the PMO role as the moderating factor. And then we will be discussing the factors, the variables, or the dependent variable, the independent variable, and then the moderating role of the PMO as a moderating variable. And then we will be discussing some interesting facts from the findings of the study itself. So let's just jump to it. Introduction, what is what? Let's just go back a little bit and try to introduce what we mean exactly by ESG. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. What were the triggers behind this study in particular? Beside the fact that I am a PMO consultant for years now. Sorry?
My apologies for interruption. The slides haven't been working, so we're just going to put them up for you. So I'll interrupt you for 10 seconds. We're going to put the slides up for you because they haven't come up. So apologies for the interruption. Thank you. No, that's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Are the slides visible now?
Thank you. They're all coming up now. I really appreciate your patience with us.
Thank you so much. I tried my best. I couldn't succeed with them.
Please go ahead now. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm still not able to see them. So I'm in slide 1 and the introduction, what this study is all about. The trigger of this study, besides being a PMO consultant for years now, and besides being, managing PMOs for so many years, I think there is an increasing maturity of PMOs across the globe, and that's why there are a lot of events that are happening. Part of it is this event, for instance. There are a lot of conferences, a lot of webinars, seminars, a lot of awarding competitions that are happening around the PMO world. So that's why I think there is an increasing maturity. And beside that, also, the sustainability is increasing traction since the incidents that happened, the wildfires that are happening everywhere, the Georgia fluid incident, the COVID-19, the rise in sea levels, the high temperatures that we are experiencing. All of these are increasing the traction of sustainability across the globe. And there is an interchangeable term for sustainability, it's the ESG. Although sustainability is a broader terminology, ESG is the reporting frameworks normally, but they are being used interchangeably in all literatures and all conferences across the globe. What were the objectives of my study? First is to examine the drivers of ESG adoption among banks operating in the GCC region. And what we mean by the GCC region is the Gulf countries, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Oman. So what were the drivers that would influence the ESG adoption? And then we will be examining the opportunities that we can tap into, the opportunities that we can grab out of the ESG adoption, and the challenges of the ESG adoption, why we are encountering such challenges. The third objective would be to examine the relationship between the ESG adoption and the financial performance of organizations, how it can affect, how the ESG adoption could be a dependent variable that would influence the independent variable, which is, or vice versa. The dependent variable is the financial performance, is the ESG adoption, and the independent variable would be the ESG adoption. And the third objective, fourth objective is to examine the role and the impact of the PMO. And this is the key thing. What is the PMO role in driving that relationship between the dependent variable and the independent variable? That is when it comes to the objectives of my study. What is ESG in a nutshell? Environmental and social and governance. Before a few years, when I was conducting such presentations, I used to ask them a survey question. What is ESG? And I got 70% of that survey who does not know what ESG means. But now, since the maturity of ESG and sustainability is increasing all over the globe, I think that's increasing and it's really improving. How does that relate to PMOs? Just to describe each element, environmental, it's for waste, it's for water, electricity, stuff related to environment in general, climate change. Social factors are related more towards training of staff, volunteering activities, dealing with local vendors, the community engagement, while the governance are more related to controls in place, risk management, data privacy, data protection laws, board diversity, board independence, the balance between men and women at board level. So just to describe how does that relate to PMOs, let me just give you a brief background or shed lights around what is green and what is PMO. And green is here just a symbolic name for sustainability or ESG. Yeah. So how does that relate to each other? What is the overlapping areas? When we speak about sustainability or ESG, we're speaking about customer satisfaction. It's one of the key elements under the social factor. We cannot go further without considering the customer satisfaction of our organization. When we speak about it, also we speak about cost reduction, how we can drive operational excellence, how we can reduce the water, electricity, papers, the waste, in order for us to optimize the cost further. How we can engage our employees, and this is also part of the social factors. Increase their engagement, reduce their turnover, increase their satisfaction level, their productivity level, etc. Also, we're speaking here about better governance, as explained earlier, the independence of the board, the diversity of the board, etc. While when we speak about PMO, we mainly speak about strategic alignment, how we can strategically align our projects and the portfolio to our strategy, how we can optimize the resources to drive better operational excellence, utilize the resources to the maximum possible extent in order for us to optimize the use of them, and then how we can realize the benefits, identify the benefits, track the benefits, and then materialize those benefits and reap the benefits of the projects that we are working on. So what is there in common between both of them? The value. The value is what organizations are looking for exactly. So this is the common factor between sustainability and the PMO. Both of them are aiming to drive better value. So let's just highlight what are the factors of this study. What is impacting what exactly? Who is the independent variable and who is the dependent variable? So ESG adoption is the independent variable. Yeah, the dependent variable would be the organizational performance as described earlier. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. Then you will be highlighting all the factors and all the metrics that are related to those three pillars. And then for the organizational performance here, you will be catering for the return on equity, how you can achieve better shareholders value, the return on investment, how you can optimize your investments and make sure that you are capturing all the value out of it. The cost to income ratio is another factor that organizations are really keen towards achieving, and the net profit is another factor. So all these metrics were part of my study. I was studying the ESG scoring, and then I was studying also how it could impact the return on equity, return on average assets, cost to income ratio, and the net profit of those organizations that were under study. how the PMO is playing such role in driving the relationship between both of them. What is the moderating factor or the moderating role that the PMO is playing is the essence of this study. It's really the key element of it. So by examining the moderating role of PMO, we are highlighting how the PMO could impact the relationship between both factors, both variables, yeah? What were these elements that we have highlighted in the study itself? I'll shed lights on some of them because I cannot really discuss all of them given the time constraints, but let me just shed lights on some of the processes that where the PMO can play a role in driving the relationship. Demand management, for instance, when you are collecting projects during the project's life cycle, then the demand management or the intake process of your project's portfolio. You're collecting ideas from different parts of the organization. Those ideas might hit ESG somehow, or it might not hit ESG. And let me clarify here the difference between both things, sustainability by projects and sustainability for projects. When we are speaking about sustainability for projects, then you're highlighting all the sustainability KPIs that are part of your projects, regardless those projects are being there in the portfolio for the sake of achieving sustainability or for not achieving sustainability. So those projects were there, yeah, but you're highlighting how would that impact by highlighting KPIs for sustainability, how would that impact your sustainability, yeah? When we are speaking about sustainability by projects, then we're speaking about purely sustainability initiatives that were there in the portfolio, like renewable energy, like solar panels, for instance. Those initiatives are being there for the sake of achieving sustainability. So this is the difference between sustainability by projects and sustainability for projects. So here you're catering for that, the intake process or the demand management process. During the selection and prioritization, you might consider ESG as one of the criteria in which you are highlighting how you can or how would you select and prioritize your projects. If it's scoring high in environmental factors, if it's scoring high in social factors or in governance factors, then you will be prioritizing that initiative. You will be highlighting the weight of the ESG factors, and then you will be prioritizing such initiative because it's meeting your objectives, part of ESG. Otherwise, you will be deprioritizing that, yeah, or deselecting that. So this is when it comes to those two different stages. When it comes to strategic alignment and how it can impact the organizational performance, and the PMO is driving it. Here, you're aiming to strategically align all your projects to your corporate strategy. There is a vision for that organization, and you're trying to align each and every project to that particular vision and that particular strategy. Yeah, and this is one of the crucial elements of PMOs. Benefits realization, on the other hand, here you're identifying all the benefits. You are tracking those benefits along the way throughout the project life cycle, and you're trying to realize the benefits post the implementation of the project. Like, I'll give you an example, robotics, for instance, how it can impact the organizational performance. Robotics or automation, process automation, when you are introducing such projects in the organization, you're aiming to reduce the cost, you're aiming to reduce the burnout of employees, you're aiming to increase their productivity. So you're bringing down the cost, you're increasing productivity, you're increasing your return on investment. That would have an impact also on your net profitability, because in order for you to drive the net profitability, either you increase your revenues or you decrease your cost, right? Those are the two factors that would impact your profitability. So by introducing robotics as a project, you are realizing all these benefits and you're highlighting all these benefits. Moving forward, what were the interesting findings of this study? What were the outcomes of this study? So the main driver for ESG adoption, as highlighted by majority of respondents for this study, was driver one. 49% responded as it's a regulatory requirement, it's pressure from the government, that's why they are adopting to ESG. And this is true to some extent because it's aligned with the literatures that were already published in this regard. So the responses that comes from the survey were really in line with the literatures. 49% they said it's regulatory requirements. That's why there are a lot of issuance of regulations, standards, you name it, GRI, Global Reporting Initiative, SASB, CSDR, IFRS, they have issued 2 standards for ESG. There are a lot of standards. There are a lot of regulatory requirements when it comes to this regard. Driver 1, they said it's shareholders or investors' demand. 29%, they believe that it's driver number 2. Long-term value creation, 29%, they believe it's driver number 3. And then better. And why it's long-term value creation? Simply because, and this is also in line with the literature, by the way, simply because you cannot reap the benefits of ESG in short term. In order for you to reap the benefits of solar panels, for instance, it will require you some years in order for you to optimize the use of electricity by using solar panels. So it really requires a lot of time, a lot of investment, and then a lot of time to reap the benefits. Better publicity and reputation, 37%, they believe it's a driver number 4. Although some people may negate this and may believe that this is the driver number 1 for any organization to drive better publicity and reputation by adopting ESG. And 52%, they believe it's driver number 5, riding hype and following the trend. What was the main challenge of this study of understanding or of adopting ESG? The main challenge, as highlighted by the respondents, 66% of them, is the lack of awareness and limited understanding. Yeah, and this is the thing that I highlighted previously in this session. Because of lack of awareness, they were voting towards we don't know ESG. Yeah, 70% they were voting we don't know ESG. Yeah, lack of awareness and limited understanding is number 1 challenge. That's why we need to establish awareness going forward. The cost for implementing ESG initiatives is really high. This is the second challenge, 52% they responded this. Lack of standardization and inconsistent reporting frameworks, this is number 3. Why? Simply because there are a lot of standards around the globe. There are a lot of them. Yeah, every couple of days there is a new standard that comes out for ESG adoption and for ESG metrics. Data availability and equality. Yeah, this is another factor. So for you as an organization, you can have scope 1 and scope 2, but scope 3 is really, really difficult to capture because you will encounter double counting. Scope 3 for you as an organization might be scope 1 for another organization. So you might encounter double accounting. The resistance to change is another factor also from the stakeholders. Sometimes they don't believe in ESG value. Stakeholders' commitment and buy-in on another challenge, and the regulations complexity could be another challenge as well. What was the main opportunity in enhancing the banks? Enhancing the bank's reputation and image by adopting ESG. 75% responded that it's enhancing the image and reputation. 66% they said it's contributing to operational efficiency and cost reduction. Improving financial performance, 51%. Attract better investments, 43%, etc., etc. So each depends on the responses and on the organization that we are actually directing that survey towards. In UAE, I noticed that the maturity level of them is better than in Kuwait, for instance, or in Qatar, or in other countries. They are adopting ESG really highly, and they have a lot of case studies around it. So what is the PMO role? Yeah, some of the interesting facts as well. Our PMO understands the significance of ESG adoption. 30% believe that they agree with this statement. Yeah, 30% only believe that they agree that the PMO understands the significance. And the difference between neutral and agree is 1% only. 29% they voted as a neutral. Our PMO contributes to the development of ESG strategy. 34%, as you said, neutral, as you can see. Our PMO aligns its processes to the ESG priorities. 35% it's a neutral. Overall, majority of the responses were towards a neutral responses, simply because, I'll tell you the reason. They don't understand the value of PMO. They don't understand the level that the PMO can can actually have in order for it to influence the relationship between ESG adoption and the organizational performance. They don't understand what PMO means sometimes. Yeah, I got a question from one of my colleagues just before a few days. What is PMO? What does it mean? Although we're assuming that everyone by this age and by this stage, they understand the value of PMOs and they understand what the roles and the functions that PMOs could play, but it's not really the fact all the time. Yeah. Some of the recommendations that we are recommending out of this study, when it comes to ESG adoption, for instance, we need to establish better awareness and we need to communicate more. And then, yes. Sure. If you give me 30 seconds, I'll finish the slide. So awareness and communication, better awareness when it comes to ESG adoption and better communication. We have to communicate all the time. We have to have a cost-benefit analysis on all ESG investments, whatever there is for ESG. We have to have a return on investment analysis. When it comes to the PMOs, we have to have a clear model. I'm highlighting all the models in the Green PMO book, and there is one section that is dedicated also for the models, frameworks, and methodologies that we are suggesting for the PMO to integrate ESG adoption and the organizational performance. And when it comes to organizational performance, there should be a clear mechanism for the benefits realization where it could be linked to return on investment, return on average assets, return on equity, and cost to income ratio, and the net profit. That's all for me. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I really hope to see you again next year.